Hey everyone, welcome back to Evony with Genghis. So we are here on server 409. I wanted to do an interview with one of the players here because they have a long civil war. Don't we all? Not that interesting, right? But actually, this is the server. Some of you may recall the three-headed dragon. It was a Reddit thread, then there was a counter Reddit thread of the other side of the story from the people who were in the Civil War, because obviously a Civil War has multiple sides. And this actually, I didn't think it was that interesting to talk about, to be honest, leading up to it. And then someone approached me and they were a low coiner. So I really wanted to get a low coiner / free to play type of player's opinion on what it's like to be on a hostile server where obviously you're outgunned, that sort of thing. Okay, so we're on server 409, as you can see, and we have a semi-anonymous player from that server. They've had a long time civil war, and it's a low coining player, free to play before, and wanted to get their perspective on the game, on civil wars, and basically servers that don't get along, as most people, I think, tend to think of themselves as sort of coiners and have a different opinion. So I wanted to get that angle. So can you tell us a little bit about what's going on server, how long it's been going on, and that sort of stuff?
I would say the issues were bubbling up even as I joined in, but I was kind of oblivious to it, as most new players are. It became an issue you couldn't ignore when there was heated exchanges, can I say that, happening in WC that were just shocking to me. And I've played games before, but this was just off the wall. And it came to sort of it got nasty real quick. People tile hitting, which is normal. People calling each other names. And even up to that point where it boiled over, we still had server nap. From Monday to Fridays, no bubble was needed. Everybody can gather, everybody can do all the activities that was required. So, as a new player and an F2P player, it was great. I was trying to learn the game. I was bringing people in. I was making friends, so to speak. And it got to a point that the biggest player in our alliance, in our server at the time, I believe he was around 2.5, 3 billion at the point, made this grand gesture that there's too much hate, there's too much negativity, so to stop it all, that he's going to go join this one alliance, ZFG, and that with them and their big players, ZFG had pretty much all the big players and the big coiners at the time, and still do, to end it all and create a mega alliance, which every server does it. Within a week of leaving the alliance, this player was in my alliance at the time, we started getting hit. Around the same time, there was a player who was also a leader in another alliance had declared that she was going to leave the game, or she had conversations. And I do remember seeing on WC somebody from her alliance saying, "We're going to miss you. I'm doing this. I'll miss you all," the usual. Next morning, we woke up to her bubble being dropped and her zeroed by this big player, Hoot, which was shocking to all, because server nap rules stated you can't hit a tagged player, and she requested compensation. Compensation was denied, and the rules also stated at the time, if compensation is not made within a week, the player had to be KOS. Who was going to do it was another question, but that was the rule. It snowballed into even worse when the player that was zero decided she was going to get her own payback when she noticed Hoot, who had 2 historic subsidies at that point, I believe, and he had dropped one of them to grind And
To
she
level
went in.
generals, you mean?
Yeah, to level generals, yes. He had dropped a historic sub and was grinding his generals, and she jumped in and she took the sub. And honestly, I'm a small player at this point, somewhere around 100 mil, barely K30, and to me, what she did was amazing. It was, it's like David and Goliath kind of thing. So yeah, I was laughing it up with everybody else. Wow, that was something else. And the next thing you know, Hoot had decided that he's just going to blame several alliance, and he started hitting all the keeps, breaking server NAP completely. And from that point, things escalated, and it got pretty nasty all around, to one day, a player in ZFG coming up with a brilliant idea to log into the R5 of the Alliance, ZFG's Alliance, and hand over the AC to another player. And yes, he did. They account share, apparently, and still do. And he logged into the R5's account, Baron, dropped his bubble, and he had the other sub, historic sub that used to belong to Hoot, and he was zeroed by pretty much the entire 409, and the historic sub was taken. And so, while we were doing this, another big player, Rad, her bubble dropped. My understanding, nothing was touched on hers. No account was hacked. No account was logged in. Her dropping bubble was completely coincidental. But to everybody's glee, because she's usually the nastiest, meanest, cruelest person on the server. So, of course, nobody was going to pass that opportunity up. And she was zeroed as well. And since then, the server has been BOB, and ZFG has declared that nobody will be on the throne except them, and there will be no surprise.
So a couple questions here. So you just gave us a history. I'm on the Alliance info of ZFG, and they say, so is this server war been going on since May 2022?
That's correct. That would May 16th or the 19th, I think.
Yeah, and there used to be a Reddit about it, but it's been taken down, I think, and it detailed it all for players who played them in SVS to point them towards it, give them a history lesson. So first question I have, why did you join this random server?
I really don't remember how I ended up on 409. I used to play other games, and when I joined this, I was assuming I would go into a new kingdom, new server. Usually that's how they do it, because the older servers are locked off. I have no idea how I came to be on 409. I barely remember even joining the very first alliance, because I have no clue how I did it. So it wasn't like I chose 409.
Okay, so if this civil war started in May of 2022, when did you join the server?
Definitely summer of 2021.
Okay, so you had been there for almost a year at that point. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So were you a free-to-play player before the Civil War? Like, when did you spend your first amount of money? After the Civil War?
I think up to about K35. Hang on. I would say up until K32, K33, I was a free-to-P player. But after it was BOB and it was hard to do anything to give yourself the boost that you need and the material you need, that's when I started to coin.
Yeah, so that used to be Evony's business model, and I guess it's still working on your server. So you guys have never had a merge. That's really interesting. It's been 3 years, your server 409.
Yep. And that's also mind-boggling to me, because any other game I've played at, pretty much 6 to 8 months, there's a merge.
Yeah.
There's a dynamic change. It refreshes everybody.
Yeah, and you guys appear to be a pretty low spending small server too compared to other servers.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when I look at like you guys must just get destroyed in SVS all the time. Your biggest player on a 3-year-old server is only 15 billion.
That's right.
That also might go to say like how Bob servers don't grow as well as other servers.
Yes.
So can you guys gather? Can you rally monsters?
We can do monsters right now, yes. We had a truce briefly for gathering in the hopes of building up towards a complete reset. Didn't happen. We got as far as being able to drop subs and grind, and now we're down to no peace. So it's basically, if you're in leadership, you're hustling your brain to see how can you get the little keeps to grow in other ways. So one of your videos on how to get 2.4 billion res was greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I always try to share those tips. Unfortunately, with Evony, there isn't too many of those available anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of hide those away. They don't give too much free anymore. So do you think that you guys are on the way to peace? One thing that I usually starts that process, have any of the original players, the people who felt wrong was done by to them, have they left their accounts and it's new owners yet?
Pretty much, yes. Some are still around, obviously, and hence why we can't have peace. The person who actually took the AC and gave it away left right away.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened to his account anymore.
And then what happened to the AC after they took it? Did they demolish it?
It was demolished. It was used for a while by others, but it's been taken down because it's a painful reminder of what happened.
Sorry, when I mean demolish, I mean like disband the alliance. Did they do that?
It was done at the time, yes. When the AC was taken, people were kicked off. But ZFG has since, regrouped, and they've actually gotten another level 4 AC by themselves. So the old AC is kind of redundant at this point.
And one,
And I might say,
I have this memory that just came to me on Reddit. Was this not the server that was called like 3 Dragons or something? A player?
yes. And there was a reply Reddit as well by a dude named Mr. Evony Kant, K-A-N-T, which I believe is the same person who took the AC and gave it away, if that makes any sense.
And the reason, was it 3 Dragons? Was that the name?
Yes.
And the reason was someone was never going to be given their second week of throne to get the 4th dragon. And then the story goes that that person somehow convinced Evony customer service to give them the 4th week.
Oh boy.
And then there's
that was going around, yes.
There's also a counter argument that maybe the person got Conqueror on another server and it counted, or maybe ZFG, I think that's the alliance, didn't properly protect throne or misremembered the number. So there's basically a debate. Did Evony customer service give someone a dragon or not? What do you think of that?
If you think Evony customer service gives away anything, a dragon at that point, go ahead and try it. I mean, to get them to give you technical assistance or even reimburse you for anything like march speeds. So, no. The player conquered the enemy throne twice. I can't tell you the dates, I don't record things like that, and I don't even know how to look it up. But the player conquered enemy throne twice. By the time or during the time of this AC swap happening. So he already had Thebes. So it was amusing to have all of this Reddit postings and WC postings and songs even written at some point about how somebody was going to be 3 dragons forever. The player has more dragons now.
Yeah, so I believe the same as you. I don't believe Evony customer service gave anyone a dragon.
I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot, but I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
There was like mad conspiracy theories on how he did it and how it was achieved, but no.
So what do you think? So as a low coiner, I'm sure you hear stuff all the time from the other side in the Civil War, like, shut up, you farmers. We pay money, listen to us, our opinion matters more. What do you think? Do you hear that sort of stuff? And what do you think of it if you do?
It's actually much worse than how politely you put it. There's some really ugly name calling going on, which has turned off everybody from being on WC. So it's basically now a propaganda medium, and in between you can see the insults flying. So at this point, I think this victimhood is just played its course. People are fed up. People want to move on. And, you know, there are genuine reasons to move on. I mean, I don't, if you may want to cut this part out because it might be a painful memory for some. The Hutus and the Tutsis are learning to get along despite, you know, the Rwandan massacre in the 1990s. We can't play a game? Come on.
Yeah, and someone lost some imaginary troops in this, right?
Oh, it was ridiculous. There were threats about going to the FBI. I mean, to me, it was like something my parents or my grandparents would have used when I was 5 years old. Come on.
So I agree that it's amazing in a game like this, like people just can never move on. So I'm looking at, there's a lot of attacks here on a player. Shake was receiving attacks, or is this Battlefield maybe they're showing? No, this seems to be on server, right? So Muffin Man, they're rallying the Shake player. This is this, let's see the date. Yeah, this seems to be today or yesterday, right, that this happened. So what's going on there?
Shake is the player who received the AC, and there's been attacks on him since then. I mean, the Three Dragons song was about him. If you look at our server map, it's named after him.
So why would Shake ever be without Bubble if people just want to destroy that person?
That's a good question. He does do that often, and he has dared them to. I don't know. Maybe he fell asleep.
Yeah, I guess you'd think if you're public enemy number 1, you wouldn't be doing that though.
True.
But so Shake is a 5 billion player as of today in FKU Alliance. So where do you see this ending?
I don't think that it's going to end. I think it's going to be in a situation where the whole server just dies, people leave. I mean,
So do the top alliances ever talk, and do they have demands like this is what I would want for peace?
yes, there's been several.
So what does ZFG want for peace?
They don't want anything. They want the subs returned, and they want the AC returned.
So
And
ZFG right now is playing in a different AC?
yes,
But the AC they have has a top 100 Shalon, so isn't it better than the old one at this point?
I would imagine. Yes.
Yeah, so the AC doesn't really seem to matter. I could see why they'd be mad about the red subs. Who owns the red subs that they want?
One of the red subs is with an alliance called Avenue
Yeah.
Avengers. And the other one
Kino.
is in our. Yes, the other one is in RDS.
Okay. So they want those returned, and the people are saying, no, that's not going to happen.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
because You know, all of this wouldn't have snowballed in if the server rules were observed and Bree was given her, I don't know, 100 million res. Sorry, made a mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and 100 million is a very small amount.
She was not a big player at that time. I'm trying to remember. It's hard. But that's the bad choice made that is just snowballed into what it is today, automatically. And the argument made is she was due her compensation. She wasn't an untagged player about to leave the game. I mean, if Hoot had the patience and waited for, I don't know, whenever she's done, and if she was going out the door, you know, if she was giving the subs away and stuff like that, wait for it to be done, you could have plundered, or even asked her, as we've done in the past in other games. If a player's leaving, you know, usually the player would say, I'm cracking open my crates.
So one question back to the start of that. So it sounds like someone else announced that she was leaving on World Chat, and then people were like, okay, open season, take her stuff.
Yes.
But now she's still playing. So this lit a fuel under her, and she decided to continue to play.
She did play for a while. She doesn't anymore.
Okay.
I believe she's passed on her account. From what I understand, there were threat made to her family. There was some really ugly stalking incidents, and she doesn't play anymore.
Honestly, this is the same on every server. Like the hatred, the crossover into real life, the threats, the stalking. And then some people take it really serious and get really scared. And like I know that there's we had a civil war for like, I don't know, basically a year, but it got really bad for like 6 months. The first part was just like, we'd fight for a couple days, then pause for 2 weeks, and then fight. But the past half year, and it was full of like people threatening to fly across the world to break people's knees and kill them. And it's like, okay, like good. And they're like, I could find you. It's like, okay, good luck. Go to whatever city, and what are you going to do? Hold your phone up and be like, I want to find this player on server 430 in this game, and people are going to show you where they live? Like, I don't take these real life threats very serious, and I don't understand why anyone does.
It's a bit humiliating, I guess, when your private life seeps into your game life, which you don't want. Because you get involved in this sort of entertainment to get away from your real life for a little, you know, even a little bit. So
yeah, but for me, there's two different things here to look at it. So number one, if they can actually contact my family and say things about me, that's another story. But if they're just telling my game community about my real life, it's like, okay, that's like 200 people I'll never meet in real life. What do I care if they know something about me?
Exactly.
Like that sort of stuff does not hurt my feelings. Post in World Chat about my real life. I don't care. But if they were to contact people in the real life, and, you know, mostly I'd only care because it'd be embarrassing. I play games so much.
Well, contacting your employer, contacting your family.
Yeah. If they could manage to do that, yeah, then that's a different story. So where do you guys go from here now? You just basically wait for a merge, and hope that that kind of acts as a mediator?
Basically, but I don't even think that's going to happen, because a merge would be a good thing, because it redirects all this energy into other activities. You know, when you're merging, you want to make the best alliance with whoever you're merging with, so you come out stronger and on top, and, you know, it's redirecting the dynamics of the game, and ton of activity that goes with it behind the scenes. I don't think that's going to happen. Like you said, we're one of the oldest, and we're one of the low spending in terms of coining. I think Evony's just going to let us die. People will just leave, and I think a lot of people are here now for the camaraderie, because until it's enough. You know.
Yeah, and people get like trapped in their like comfort zone. Like now, like they log in to hate.
Mm-hmm.
They log in to channel all their hate in life into the game against people. But I think if you get a merge, I think it acts as a mediator, especially if you merge with like a really big player. Like say you merge with like Sir Philip or something, or someone like that, like a really massive player, big alliance, and people would want to play with them. And that sort of person, but you need that big personality. It can't just be another server of small alliances.
Let me ask you this question. If we were to, in this theoretical scenario, were to merge with the server where Sir Philip plays, do you think Sir Philip will choose to go with an alliance that is a smaller alliance with low coiners, or do you think he'd want to go with the big spenders and the big alliance like ZFG? Because that's their advantage. They have a lot of bigger players who spend more.
Yeah, so generally, Sir Phillips is a little bit different than most of the other big players. I honestly think Sir Philip would just be like, "How about everybody joins me?" But most people who are Sir Philip's size would always just go with the big coiners who can help them, because this game really is about who can help me.
Yeah.
But I could see Sir Philip just being like, let's all just join together. There's room for everybody. Maybe that's the sort of attitude that would work. I don't know.
A merge could be the answer because, aside from the big powers, playing their big game, those that are stuck in the middle can find others who like you or think like you, and it gives a little bit of fresh blood, fresh energy, fresh direction. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. If it hasn't happened in 3 years and then some, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you need people to quit and move on. So that's basically what happened with my server. Our civil war basically ended with, it was very, very bad comments. People quit, people sold, people left. An entire alliance basically left and went to a new server. And it's ironic because the whole time they were accusing my alliance of saying all these really bad things in world chat. And we were like, no, it's not us. We have the biggest accounts. We don't need to hide. It's you guys making fake accounts to make it look like it's us. And then ironically, when about 15 members from this other alliance left, there's no more bad comments in world chat.
That is the thing. There are a lot of, like, every time there's a peace agreement like we had now, we see these little alts that question prod, and you wonder who and where it's coming from. There's finger pointing on both sides. People are like, oh, it's this person, it's that person, because the language on this alt is set to, I don't know, Chinese or Arabic or English.
Yeah, and that's a perfect deceptive thing that people do in this game. They put a different language. So as a low coiner, how do you focus on growing? Do you still care to grow? What do you think?
Yeah, I left a game to play here because I had like personal goals. I don't necessarily care about wings or whatever, but I do plan to get to where I want to go to, and I will do it anyway. How it might take me a while longer.
Okay, so this is something that I find hilarious. So you don't care about wings, which must drive the big alliance crazy. And because I'm sure one of the insults you always hear is, you'll never get wings, you're useless.
Yeah, trash can. You're worthless. Your VIP is this. Your keep is this. But you're measured by what can be seen instead of what cannot be seen and why I'm here. So, yeah, sure. It'd be nice to have it. I'll give it a go if it can be fair play.
So if you were to go for wings, would they attack you?
Yes. One of the things I wish Evony would do, which in other games we expected, when it's kingdom versus kingdom or server versus server, you can't attack your own player. Kind of like in Clash of the Civilization, which they just introduced, I believe.
Yeah. So you can't attack your own player. Then obviously bubble drops would be a large issue. But yeah.
Yeah. So I like it because I like to come and I like to hang out with my people.
So one other thing that you said off air before when we were talking that I wanted to talk about was you said other games that you play. You said you used to play something like Game of Thrones Kingdoms or something like this, and no matter how much hate there was in that game, you guys would put it aside for like Kingdom Wars, which is the equivalent of server wars.
Yeah, absolutely. There was pride in the kingdom. You wanted to come out on top. So even the biggest haters of the kingdom would come to every single alliance and their leaders and say, hey, we want to do this, and divvy up the duties, and here's how this works, and here's how we're going to divide it up, and here's what you need to do, pull your weight here, pull your weight, have a strategy, have a plan that's executable, and go with it.
So any final thoughts on your server war opinion as a low coiner versus big coiners?
I don't think that there's going to be a solution. Every player should have the equal opportunity to advance to their comfort level, regardless of whether they're big coiners or low coiners or no coiners.
You just kind of led into something there. Do you think that low coiners, like if you have everybody on your server and there's 100 people or 1,000 people, do you think everyone's opinion is equal? Or is it a little bit weighted towards how much you spend or how good your account is on server?
I think everybody's voice is equal.
Do you understand why people with a stronger account would believe that their opinion matters more? Or people who spend more money thinking that?
I see where they're coming from, but just because you want to go ahead and spend $1,000 a day doesn't mean everybody should or could, and doesn't mean that they shouldn't enjoy something that they came to play. This is a fantasy world, for Pete's sake. Leave that thought out and make it enjoyable for everybody.
Oh yeah, but the way Evony is built, you're spending. No, I don't think anyone's spending 1,000. Not too many, but let's say someone's spending 10,000 a month. Could you see why they would think I'm king? I make the rules.
Yes, Evony, especially with the VIP numbers and getting buffs, and there's a perception that you get a better service from Evony customer service if your VIP status is higher than 20. So it's tiered service. Of course, people think that your voice is not important if you're not a certain level or if you're not playing to a certain level.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have a tough situation, so wish you the best with it.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys can get that Reddit up again. That was always fun to read. I planned to do actually some sort of interview or coverage on your server back a few months ago. And then when I looked to do it and I was ready to do it, the Reddits were all taken down. So unfortunately it wasn't there. But as a low coiner, free to play type player, why do you log in? Like some people would laugh that, oh, you log in to talk to avatars, people you're never going to meet in real life, to go farm, gather on a tile. What motivates you to continue playing, especially when there's a civil war?
Partly because I have friends that I enjoy having a chat with. They brighten up my day. And also because I have players that have played with me for a lot longer, not just in this game. So we keep in touch with each other, and we do try to even meet up. This game may be just full of avatars and, digital pixels, but some of those pixels form into real bond. You can connect with people. I mean, I have heard of people meeting up, dating, getting married. And there's been some hilarious stories about these people. I mean, one couple I met who, through this game, they actually were in enemy alliances. And while they were on their first date, his alliance zeroed her keep because her bubble dropped.
That's great.
Her phone is, blowing up. Your bubble's down. They were having a first date, but they actually ended up getting married. So, it's a human connection. However, people want to do it. And I mean, during the pandemic, it was depressing. You couldn't go out. You couldn't see anybody. You couldn't meet family. And some people, for them, this is the outlet. There's been scary scenarios too. There's been people who are, I don't know if I want to go into this, but there was a player who was at one point talking to us on AC because she found herself in a really scary place and she needed somebody to call the police.
Yeah. So you mean like a mental health type situation?
Mental health, violence.
Yeah.
People get here for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
Whatever their reason may be, they should feel safe.
Yeah. So I have a question as a low coiner, free to play, and obviously ZFG is the biggest alliance on server. How do you feel when you see someone in your alliance, their bubble drops, and you're basically helpless to help them? Like, what goes through your mind? Like, that sort of stuff.
There used to be a time I would want to reinforce them and write it out to the end, and now it's kind of useless. So my heart breaks. I wish I could, extend my bubble and somehow protect them. If not, I'm doing everything I can to get that person online, and afterwards it's like, what do you need to heal and what do you need to build? Because I'll share my stuff.
Yeah, so lots of people forget, but I used to be a very small player before too. So, and I wasn't in the biggest alliance. So I went through all this stuff too. And the worst was when they start going after the subs, because it's like that's stuff they're never going to get back.
All right, so thank you so much for the interview. We wrap it up there, and we do keep it semi-anonymous, as I'm sure the person will take heat from the other side in the Civil War, in the comments, that sort of stuff. But hopefully the Reddit threads get back up, guys. Those were so entertaining to read. And if anyone from the other side of the Civil War wants to tell me their point of the story, I do understand losing red subs, how you don't want to turn the page on that. You do want them back. So I do totally get it, how you guys do need some sort of resolution on both sides. Both sides need to feel happy if you are to move on from it. But anyways, let me know in the comments what you guys think of this story, and like, subscribe, leave a comment.